waitress opened her diner to a freezing old man during a deadly snowstorm. The next morning, 3 Rolls-Royces surrounded her restaurant, and the truth about who she saved shattered everything she thought she knew about her past. Subscribe now, or this might be our last meeting. Follow, comment, and share to stay connected. Don't miss out. Let's dive in. The snow fell heavy over Maple Ridge. So heavy, it covered everything. The streets disappeared under thick white blankets. The voices of the town went silent. Everyone was hiding inside their warm homes. It was a deadly snowstorm, the kind that killed people who stayed outside too long. Inside the Crossroad Diner, Lila Monroe wiped the windows with a tired cloth. Back and forth, back and forth. She looked outside at the white emptiness. Nobody was coming. Nobody would be crazy enough to drive in this weather. But still, Lila kept working. She always worked hard. That was just who she was. "Close up already, girl. Nobody's gonna show up," Doris Lane grumbled from behind the counter. Doris was the manager. She was practical. She was grumpy. But deep down, she had a good heart. "This storm is getting worse. We need to go home." Lila turned to look at her. "Just a few more minutes, Doris. Please?" Doris shook her head. "You and that heart of yours. Always waiting for someone who needs help." But she didn't push anymore. She knew Lila. That girl never gave up on people. Never. Lila went back to the window. She pressed her hand against the cold glass. Something felt wrong. Something felt unfinished. She couldn't explain it. It was just a feeling deep in her chest, like God was telling her to wait. Just wait a little longer. And then she saw it. A shadow, moving slowly on the white road outside. Lila's heart jumped. "Doris, there's someone out there." "What?" Doris rushed to the window. "Lord have mercy." Through the falling snow, they could see a figure. An old man. He was stumbling, falling, getting up again. His clothes were soaked, completely soaked. He could barely walk. His face was pale, so pale, like death was already reaching for him. "He's gonna die out there," Lila screamed. She didn't think. She just ran. She grabbed her coat and ran to the door. Doris tried to stop her. "Lila, wait. The storm." But Lila was already pulling the door open. The wind hit her like a punch. So cold, so strong. It knocked the breath right out of her lungs. Snow blew into the diner. The wind screamed like a wild animal. Sir, come here, quickly." Lila yelled into the storm. She waved her arms. "Please, this way." The old man looked up. His eyes were confused, lost. He could barely see through the snow, but he heard her voice. He turned toward the light of the diner. He tried to walk faster, but his legs wouldn't work right. Lila ran out into the snow. She didn't care about the cold. She didn't care about the danger. That man needed help. Right now. She reached him just as he started to fall. I got you, sir." She grabbed his arm. He was so heavy, but Lila was strong. Stronger than she looked. She wrapped her arm around him and pulled him toward the diner. Step by step, fighting the wind, fighting the cold. "Almost there! Almost there!" she shouted. Finally, they reached the door. Doris pulled them both inside. She slammed the door shut behind them. The wind stopped screaming. The warmth of the diner surrounded them. The old man collapsed. Right there. He fell into Lila's arms. His whole body was shaking so hard he couldn't even speak. His lips were blue. His eyes were closing. "Oh my God, Doris, help me," Lila cried. She lowered him gently to the floor. Sir, can you hear me? Stay with me, please stay with me." Doris was already running. She grabbed blankets from the back room. Warm blankets. "Move, girl, let me help." Together they wrapped the old man in the blankets, layer after layer. Lila rubbed his hands. His poor frozen hands. "You're safe now. You're safe. We got you." The old man's eyes opened just a little. He looked at Lila, really looked at her, and something passed between them. Something she couldn't understand. Something that made her heart feel strange. "Doris, get the soup, the hot soup from the pot," Lila ordered. She was usually quiet, usually shy, but not now. Not when someone needed saving. Doris didn't argue. She ran to the kitchen. She came back with a bowl of steaming soup. Chicken soup. The kind that healed bodies and souls. Lila held the bowl carefully. "Sir, I need you to drink this. Just a little, please." The old man's lips moved. He was trying to speak. Lila leaned closer. "Thank you," he whispered. His voice was so weak, so broken. Thank you, daughter, daughter. Lila froze. That word. Why did he call her that? Why did it make her chest feel so tight? Why did tears suddenly fill her eyes? She looked at him again, really looked at him. His face was old, tired, but kind. So kind. There was something in his eyes, something that reminded her of... No, it couldn't be. You're welcome, sir, she whispered back. Her voice was shaking. You're very welcome. Doris stood watching them. She crossed her arms. She shook her head slowly. That girl, she muttered to herself. That girl is going to save the whole world one day. Mark my words. The old man was safe now, wrapped in blankets, surrounded by warmth. But the word he had spoken still hung in the air. Daughter. And Lila couldn't stop shivering. Not from the cold this time. From something else. Something she didn't understand yet. But she would. Oh yes. Soon, she would understand everything. The storm got worse. So much worse. The wind howled around the little diner like an angry monster. It rattled the windows. It shook the walls. Outside, the world was nothing but white. White everywhere. Like God had erased everything else. But inside the Crossroad Diner, there was light. There was warmth. There was hope. Lila worked with gentle hands. She took the old man's wet coat, his soaked jacket, his frozen scarf. Everything was dripping with melted snow. She hung them near the heater, one by one, with so much care. We need to get him warm, she said to Doris. Really warm. I know, girl, I know, Doris replied. She was making more hot tea, strong tea with honey, the kind that brought life back into cold bones. Lila knelt beside the old man. He was sitting now, wrapped in blankets like a cocoon. His color was coming back. Slowly. So slowly. But it was coming back. Thank God. What's your name, sir? Lila asked softly. Her voice was kind, always so kind. The old man looked at her. His eyes were clearer now, and in those eyes, Lila saw something. Education, manners, dignity. This was not just any old man. Harold, he said. His voice was still weak, but it was polite. So polite. My name is Harold. Harold, Lila repeated, smiling. That's a good name. A strong name. Harold tried to smile back, but it was hard. He was so tired. I just wanted to walk, to remember who I was, before everything got so complicated. Lila didn't understand what he meant, but she didn't ask. Sometimes people needed to speak. Sometimes they needed to be quiet. She could tell Harold needed both. Well, today, Mr. Harold, you are someone who was saved, she said warmly. And that's all that matters right now. Harold stared at her. Really stared. His eyes moved to her neck, to the small silver crucifix hanging there. It was simple, old, but it shined in the light. And suddenly, tears appeared in Harold's eyes. Just a few. They rolled down his wrinkled cheeks. He quickly wiped them away. But Lila saw them. How could she not? Are you okay? She asked, worried. Are you in pain? No, child, Harold whispered. No pain. Just memories. Good memories. Doris came over with the tea. She put the cup in Harold's hands. Drink this, all of it, she ordered. But her voice was softer now, gentler. She could see this old man was special, different. Thank you, Harold said to her. You're both so kind. Doris snorted. Don't thank me. Thank this girl here. She's the one with the heart too big for her own good. But she was smiling when she said it. Actually smiling. Harold drank the tea. Slowly. Each sip brought more life into his body, more color into his face. After a while, he looked around the diner. Really looked. It was a simple place. Old booths with cracked leather. A counter with worn edges. Pictures on the walls of people who had eaten there over the years. Nothing fancy, nothing expensive. But it was clean, warm, honest. This is a good place, Harold said quietly. A place with soul. Lila's heart swelled. Nobody ever said nice things about the diner. Thank you, Mr. Harold. We try our best. I can sleep in that corner, Harold said, pointing to a spot near the heater, near the warmth. I don't want to be a burden. You're not a burden, Lila said quickly, too quickly. Please stay as long as you need. The storm is terrible out there. You can't leave, not tonight. Harold looked at her with such gratitude, such deep, deep gratitude. You remind me of someone, he whispered. Someone I lost long ago. Lila felt that strange feeling again. that tightness in her chest. "Who?" she asked, but Harold just shook his head. "Someone good. Someone pure. Like you." Doris watched them both. She saw something happening. Something important. She didn't know what, but she felt it. "All right, we're closing up," Doris announced. "Nobody's driving in this weather, and nobody's leaving either." She looked at Lila. "Hang up the sign, girl." Lila nodded. She went to the door. She pulled out the old cardboard sign that said, "Closed due to storm," and hung it in the window. Outside, the snow fell even harder. The street was completely buried now. Everything was white. White and cold and deadly. But inside was different. Inside was life. Inside was safety. Leela made up a small bed for Harold in the corner. She used clean tablecloths as sheets, extra blankets as pillows. It wasn't much, but it was something. It was everything she had to give. "There you go, Mr. Harold," she said. "Rest now. You're safe here." Harold lay down slowly. His old bones ached. His body was exhausted, but his heart was full. "I don't know how to thank you," he said, his voice breaking. "I really don't. You don't need to thank me," Lila said firmly. "Helping people is what we're supposed to do. It's what makes us human." Harold closed his eyes. He wanted to sleep. He needed to sleep. But then, the old radio in the corner started playing. A song from long ago. A sweet, sad song about love and loss and memory. Harold's breath caught. He knew that song. Oh, how he knew it. And then, without thinking, Lila started humming along. She didn't even realize she was doing it. The melody just came out of her. Soft, gentle, like a lullaby. She began to sing quietly. The words came naturally. "Hold me close. Don't let go. Through the storm and through the snow." Harold's eyes filled with tears again, but he didn't open them. He couldn't. His heart was too full, too broken and too full at the same time, because that song, that voice, they reminded him of her, of Eleanor, his Eleanor, the woman he had lost so many years ago, the woman who had taught him what love really meant. And this girl, this beautiful, kind girl, she sounded just like her. Lila finished the verse. She looked down and saw Harold with his eyes closed. Peaceful, finally peaceful. She pulled the blanket up to his chin. "Sleep well, Mr. Harold," she whispered. "Tomorrow will be better, I promise." Outside, the storm raged on. The wind screamed. The snow fell without mercy. The world was frozen and cruel. But inside the Crossroad Diner, inside was warmth. Inside was compassion. Inside was proof that even in the coldest, darkest nights, human kindness could still shine bright. And neither Lila nor Harold knew it yet. But this night would change everything. Everything. Their lives would never be the same again. In the middle of the night, something happened. Harold woke up suddenly. His eyes flew open. He was sweating so much. His whole body was shaking. Not from the cold this time. From something else. From memories. "Eleanor!" he cried out. His voice was desperate. So desperate. "Eleanor, where are you? Don't leave me. Please don't leave me." He was still asleep, lost in a dream. Or maybe a nightmare. His hands reached out into the darkness, searching for someone who wasn't there. Lila heard him. She had been resting in a chair nearby, watching over him like a guardian angel. She jumped up immediately. Mr. Harold, it's okay." She rushed to his side. She touched his shoulder gently. You're safe here, I promise." Harold's eyes focused slowly. He looked around, confused. Where was he? The diner. Yes, the diner. The kind waitress. He remembered now. "It's all right," Lila said softly. Her voice was so calm, so soothing. "You were having a bad dream, but you're okay now. Everything is okay." Harold's breathing slowed down. Slowly, slowly. He looked at Lila's face in the dim light, and something happened in his heart. Something broke open. The way she looked at him, with such tenderness, such pure concern. It was exactly how Eleanor used to look at him. Exactly. "I'm sorry," Harold whispered. His voice was rough with emotion. "I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to wake you." "Don't be sorry," Lila said quickly. She pulled the blanket up around him again. "Never be sorry for needing help. That's what we're here for." Harold kept staring at her. He couldn't stop. It was like seeing a ghost, but a good ghost. A beautiful ghost that brought comfort instead of fear. "You look so much like her," he whispered. The words came out before he could stop them. So much like her. Like who? Lila asked gently. But Harold was already drifting back to sleep. The exhaustion was too much. His eyes closed slowly. Eleanor, my Eleanor, he murmured. And then he was sleeping again. Peaceful this time. No more nightmares. Lila sat back down in her chair. She pulled it closer to Harold. She wasn't going to leave him, not tonight. What if he needed her again? She looked at his old face. So many wrinkles. So many years written there. Who was Eleanor? His wife? His daughter? Someone he had loved and lost? Lila's own heart ached because she understood that pain. Oh yes, she understood it so well. She thought about her own mother, Ruth, sweet, wonderful Ruth, who had died 3 years ago. Cancer. Horrible, cruel cancer that took her away too soon. Too soon. Lila touched the crucifix around her neck. Her mother had given it to her. On her deathbed. Wear this always, Ruth had said, her voice so weak. And remember, kindness is the greatest gift we can give. Always be kind, my darling. Always. And Lila had promised. She had promised with tears streaming down her face. I will, Mama, I promise. I'll be kind to everyone. Now, watching Harold sleep, Lila felt that promise alive in her heart. This old man needed help, and she would help him, just like her mother would have done, just like her mother had taught her. The hours passed slowly. Lila dozed a little, but mostly she stayed awake, watching, protecting, making sure Harold was okay. Finally, dawn came. The gray light crept through the windows. The storm had stopped, finally stopped. The wind was quiet now. Everything was still. The world outside was buried in white, but at least the danger had passed. Lila stood up and stretched. Her back ached from sitting all night, but she didn't care. She had work to do. She went to the kitchen. She made fresh coffee, strong coffee. The smell filled the diner, that wonderful smell of hope and new beginnings. Then she did something special, something she always did when she needed to feel close to God. She found a clean glass. She filled it with water, and she went outside just for a moment to gather some small evergreen branches from the bushes near the diner. They were covered in snow, but underneath they were still green, still alive. She brought them inside and arranged them in the glass. Simple, beautiful. A reminder that life continues even after the hardest storms. Doris arrived just then. She had walked from her house down the street. She stomped the snow off her boots and looked around the diner. Well, well, she said, raising her eyebrows. Look at you, coffee made, flowers arranged. I don't even know who you're getting all dressed up for, girl. Lila blushed. Just a little. She smiled that shy smile of hers. For God, maybe, she said quietly. Just being grateful, I guess. Doris shook her head, but she was smiling. You're something else, Lila Monroe. You really are. Most people would have left that old man outside to freeze, but not you. Oh no, not you. How could I? Lila said simply. How could anyone? You'd be surprised what people can do, Doris muttered. She had seen a lot in her years. A lot of cruelty, a lot of selfishness. But Lila restored her faith in humanity. Harold began to stir. He was waking up. Lila went to him immediately. Good morning, Mr. Harold. How are you feeling? Harold opened his eyes. He looked around. For a moment, he seemed confused again. But then he saw Lila's smiling face, and he relaxed. Better, he said. His voice was stronger now, much stronger. So much better. Thanks to you. I'm so glad, Lila said happily. Are you hungry? I can make you breakfast. Eggs, toast, whatever you'd like. Harold sat up slowly. He looked at the evergreen branches in the glass, at the fresh coffee, at Lila's bright, caring face, and his eyes filled with tears again. Happy tears this time. You're an angel, he said quietly. A real angel. Oh no, sir, Lila laughed. I'm just a waitress. A very ordinary waitress. There's nothing ordinary about you, Harold said firmly. Nothing at all. After breakfast, Harold reached into his pocket. He pulled out his wallet. It was a fine wallet, expensive leather. He opened it and took out several bills. A lot of money. More money than Lila usually saw in a week. Please, Harold said, holding the money out to her, for your kindness, for saving my life. But Lila stepped back. She shook her head firmly. No, sir, absolutely not. Please, Harold insisted. You deserve it. You worked all night. You used your supplies. Your heat, your— Mr. Harold, Lila interrupted gently. She looked him straight in the eyes. You don't owe me anything, not one penny. You were in trouble, and I helped. That's what people do. That's what we're supposed to do. But— No buts, Lila said, smiling. Just take care of yourself, okay? That's all I want. Just be safe out there. Harold stared at her, stunned, completely stunned. In his world, everyone wanted something. Everyone had a price. But this girl, this simple, beautiful girl, she wanted nothing, nothing except for him to be safe. Slowly, Harold put the money away, but then he did something else, something that surprised even him. He reached out and took Lila's hand. He held it tight, so tight, with surprising strength. Listen to me, child, he said. His voice was thick with emotion. Listen carefully. One day, this goodness of yours, it's going to come back to you. Double, triple. I promise you that. Lila felt tears spring to her eyes. Why was she crying? She didn't know, but his words touched something deep inside her heart. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you, Mr. Harold. Neither of them knew it yet, but Harold was right. Oh yes, he was so right. The goodness was about to come back to her, in ways she could never ever imagine. The sky was still gray. Heavy gray clouds hung low over Maple Ridge, but the storm was over, finally over. The wind had stopped howling, the snow had stopped falling. Everything was quiet now, peaceful. Lila went to the windows. She needed to open the curtains, let in some light. Even gray light was better than darkness. She grabbed the fabric and pulled and froze, completely froze. Her mouth dropped open. Her eyes went wide. She couldn't believe what she was seeing. She couldn't. Doris, she called out. Her voice was shaking. Doris, come here, quick. What now? Doris grumbled, walking over. What's all the fuss about? She stopped. Her tray fell from her hands. It crashed to the floor. Coffee and dishes everywhere. But she didn't even notice. Holy mother of— Doris couldn't finish her sentence. 3 Rolls-Royces, 3 enormous gleaming black Rolls-Royces. They were parked right in front of the Crossroad Diner, in a line, like something from a movie. The cars were perfect, so expensive. Each one probably cost more than the entire diner, more than everything Lila had ever owned in her whole life. What is this? Lila whispered. What's happening? And then the car doors opened. Men stepped out, big men, tall men, all wearing black suits, expensive black suits, and sunglasses, dark sunglasses even though the sky was gray. They moved with precision, like soldiers, like bodyguards, because that's exactly what they were. This has to be a movie, Doris said, her voice high and panicked. Are they filming a movie? Did we miss the memo? But Lila knew. Somehow, deep in her heart, she knew. This was about Harold. She turned around. Harold was standing up, slowly. He moved differently now, not like a weak old man anymore. He stood straight, dignified, like he had found his strength again, and he was wearing something different, a long, expensive overcoat. Where had that come from? It hadn't been there before. Had someone brought it? When? One of the bodyguards entered the diner. He was huge, absolutely huge. He looked around with professional eyes, checking for danger, checking for threats. Then he saw Harold. His whole face changed. Relief, pure relief. He walked over quickly, and then he bowed. Actually bowed, like Harold was royalty. Mr. Whitmore, the bodyguard said respectfully. Are you all right, sir? We've been searching everywhere, the whole night. When you didn't return, we thought— I'm fine, Marcus, Harold said calmly. His voice was different too, stronger, more authoritative. Thanks to these wonderful people. Whitmore, Whitmore. Lila's eyes went even wider. Her hand flew to her mouth. Whitmore, she breathed. As in Harold Whitmore, the owner of Whitmore Industries, the factories all over Vermont. Harold looked at her. He smiled, a gentle, apologetic smile. Yes, child, that's me. Doris grabbed the counter. She had to hold on to something or she would fall down. You're Harold Whitmore? The Harold Whitmore? The billionaire? I prefer a man in debt to destiny, Harold said quietly. Money doesn't define me. Not anymore. More bodyguards entered. They filled the small diner, checking everything, making sure everything was secure, making sure their boss was truly safe. Lila couldn't move. She couldn't breathe. This old man, this sweet, kind old man she had saved. He was one of the richest men in the entire state, maybe the entire country. "Oh my God," she whispered. "Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God." Doris was turning pale, actually pale. "I need to sit down," she mumbled. "I need to sit down right now." She stumbled to a booth and sat down hard. Her hands were shaking. The coffee that had spilled from the tray was spreading across the floor, but nobody cared. Nobody even noticed. Harold walked to Lila. He took both her hands in his. "I'm sorry I didn't tell you," he said gently. I needed to know if kindness still existed. Real kindness, not the fake kind that people show me because of my money. But, Lila couldn't form words. Her brain wasn't working right. "You saved me," Harold continued. His eyes were wet with tears. "Not because of who I am, not because of what I have, but simply because I needed help. You saved me because that's who you are." Lila felt tears running down her own face. I didn't know. You needed help." "Exactly," Harold said, smiling through his tears. "Exactly. You're proof that goodness still exists in this world. Pure, selfless goodness." One of the bodyguards approached. "Sir, we should get you home. You need to see a doctor. You need proper rest." Harold nodded. Yes, soon." But he didn't let go of Lila's hands. Not yet. He looked deep into her eyes. "This isn't goodbye," he said firmly. "Oh no, this is just the beginning. You'll see. One day very soon you'll understand what I mean." "I don't understand any of this," Lila said, crying and laughing at the same time. "This is crazy. This is absolutely crazy." "The best things in life usually are," Harold said with a wink. He turned to Doris, who was still sitting in the booth, staring at nothing. "And you, Doris Lane. Thank you for helping this angel do her work. Thank you." Doris just nodded. She couldn't speak. Words had completely left her. Harold walked to the door. The bodyguards surrounded him, protecting him. One of them held an umbrella, even though it wasn't raining or snowing anymore. At the door, Harold turned back one more time. "Remember what I said, Lila Monroe. Your goodness will come back to you. Double, I promise." And then he was gone. Into the Rolls-Royce. The engines started. Quiet, expensive engines. And the 3 black cars drove away slowly, carefully navigating the snow-covered streets. Lila and Doris stood at the window, watching, just watching, until the cars disappeared from view. Then they looked at each other. "Did that just happen?" Lila whispered. "I think so," Doris whispered back. "Harold Whitmore was here, in our diner?" "I think so." "And we saved him?" "I think so." They kept staring at each other. And then, suddenly, they both started laughing. Hysterical laughing. The kind of laughing that happens when something is too crazy to be real. But it was real. It had really happened. And Lila Monroe's simple, ordinary life, it would never, ever be the same again. Never. Just a few hours later, the door of the Crossroad Diner flew open. Bang! It slammed against the wall. A man stormed in, tall, powerful, wearing an expensive suit that probably cost more than Lila earned in a year. His face was red with anger. His eyes were flashing with fury. "Where is he?" the man demanded. His voice was loud. So loud. "Where's my father?" Lila jumped. She was behind the counter, still trying to process everything that had happened. "Excuse me? My father? Harold Whitmore. He came here, didn't he?" The man looked around the diner with disgust, like it was beneath him, like it was dirty. Dad, are you still here?" "Cole?" Harold's voice came from the back room. He had returned. He had come back to the diner to retrieve something he'd forgotten. Harold appeared in the doorway. He looked tired, but calm. So calm. Cole rushed to him. "Dad, what were you thinking? You disappeared. No phone. No guards. We searched everywhere. Do you have any idea how worried I was?" But his voice didn't sound worried. It sounded angry, annoyed, like Harold had inconvenienced him. "I'm fine, son," Harold said gently. "I'm perfectly fine." "Fine?" Cole's voice rose even higher. "You wandered into a blizzard. You could have died. And what are you doing in this... He looked around again, searching for words. "In this hole?" Lila felt like she'd been slapped. This hole, her diner, the place she worked so hard to keep clean and welcoming. This arrogant man called it a hole. "Cole," Harold said firmly. His voice had an edge now. "This is Lila Monroe. She saved my life last night. Show some respect. Cole turned to look at Lila for the first time. Really look at her. His eyes scanned her from head to toe, taking in her simple uniform, her worn apron, her modest appearance. And Lila could see exactly what he was thinking. She could see the judgment in his eyes. "So you're the one," Cole said. His tone was cold, businesslike. He reached into his jacket and pulled out his wallet. "All right. How much do you want?" Lila blinked. "I'm sorry, what?" "How much?" Cole repeated, pulling out a credit card. "For helping my father, for the food, the shelter, whatever. Name your price. I'll pay it right now and we can all move on." The words hit Lila like ice water. How much did she want? He actually thought she had helped his father for money. "I don't want your money," Lila said quietly, but her voice was shaking, with hurt, with anger. "Everyone wants money," Cole said dismissively. He pulled out several $100 bills. "Here, take it. You earned it, right? Isn't that why you did it?" "No." Lila stepped back, away from the money, away from him. "I don't sell kindness, sir. I helped your father because he needed help, because that's what decent people do." The words came out sharper than she intended, but she couldn't help it. This man, this terrible, arrogant man. He thought everything could be bought. Everyone had a price. Harold's face changed. He looked at his son with such disappointment, such deep, painful disappointment. "Cole," Harold said slowly. Each word was heavy. "Not everything can be bought, son. Not everything has a price tag." But Cole wasn't listening. He was used to solving problems with money. It always worked. Always. Why wasn't it working now? "Dad, be reasonable. She helped you, now we pay her. That's how the world works." "That's not how my world works," Lila said. Her voice was stronger now, firmer. "And it's definitely not how this diner works." Doris had been watching everything from behind the counter, silent, taking it all in. But now she'd heard enough. She crossed her arms over her chest. She gave Cole the look. The same look she gave drunk customers who got too rowdy. The look that said, "Try me." "And there's no coffee for people who talk like that either," Doris announced. Her voice was pure steel. "In fact, maybe you should just leave, Mr. Fancy Pants." The silence that followed was crushing. Heavier than the blizzard outside, thicker than the snow on the ground. Everyone stood frozen. Cole with his money still in his hand. Lila with her arms wrapped around herself protectively. Doris with her fierce, protective stance. And Harold watching it all with sad, wise eyes. Cole's face flushed. Red crept up his neck. He wasn't used to being rejected. He wasn't used to being told no. And he definitely wasn't used to being embarrassed. He tried to laugh it off. "Look, I didn't mean to offend anyone. I'm just trying to put a price on human decency?" Lila interrupted. Her eyes were bright with unshed tears. "You can't. Some things don't have a price, Mr. Whitmore. Some things are just right. Just good." Cole opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. He wanted to argue. His pride demanded it. But something about the way she looked at him, those honest eyes, that genuine hurt, it made something twist inside his chest, something uncomfortable, something he hadn't felt in a very long time. Shame? No, it couldn't be shame. Cole Whitmore didn't feel shame. But then why did he suddenly want to disappear? Why did he feel so small? Harold walked slowly to stand beside Lila. He put a gentle hand on her shoulder, a protective hand, a grateful hand. "You see, Cole," Harold said quietly, "this is the difference. She reminded me what it means to be human, to care about another person not because of what they have or what they can give you, but simply because they're human, because they need help." Harold looked at his son with such sadness. "When did you forget that, son? When did you become someone who thinks everything can be solved with money?" Cole felt something crack inside him. Really crack. It was like a fissure running through ice, starting small but spreading. Spreading. His father had never looked at him like that before. Never. With such disappointment. Such pity. I didn't," Cole stammered. The words wouldn't come. His usual smooth confidence was gone. "I was just trying to help." "No," Harold said firmly. "You were trying to make it transactional, to turn something beautiful and pure into a business deal. And that breaks my heart, Cole. It really does." Lila wiped her eyes quickly. She didn't want them to see her cry. She didn't want this awful man to know how much his words had hurt. But Cole saw. He saw the tear she missed, the one that rolled down her cheek, and that crack inside him spread wider, deeper. What had he done? Who had he become? He looked at his father standing beside this simple waitress in this small diner, and he saw something he'd never seen before. His father looked happy, at peace, more at peace than he'd been in years, maybe ever, and all because of this girl, this ordinary, extraordinary girl who had saved him without expecting anything in return. Cole slowly put the money back in his wallet. His hands were shaking, just slightly, but they were shaking. "I apologize," he said stiffly. The words felt foreign in his mouth. When was the last time he'd apologized to anyone? I misunderstood the situation. It wasn't a great apology. It wasn't even a good one. But it was something. And for Cole Whitmore, it was a start. Harold squeezed Lila's shoulder gently. "Thank you," he whispered to her. "Thank you for showing me that people like you still exist." And as Cole watched this connection between his father and this stranger, he felt that crack inside him grow even wider. Something was changing, something fundamental, and Cole Whitmore had no idea what to do about it. None at all. In the days that followed, Maple Ridge exploded with gossip. Everyone was talking. Everyone. At the grocery store, at the post office, at the church. The news spread like wildfire. "Did you hear? The waitress at Crossroads saved Harold Whitmore. Harold Whitmore, the billionaire, can you believe it? She pulled him right out of the storm, saved his life. I heard he gave her $1 million. No, I heard 2 million. I heard he's going to marry her." The rumors got bigger and bigger, more ridiculous and more ridiculous. People added details that weren't true, made up stories, turned a simple act of kindness into something scandalous. "The billionaire's waitress," they called. Lila now. They whispered it when she walked by. Some said it with admiration, others with jealousy. "She's the billionaire's waitress." Lila tried to ignore it. She really tried. She went to work just like always. She served coffee just like always. She smiled at customers just like always. But it was hard, so hard. People stared at her now. They asked questions. Rude questions. Personal questions. "So what's he really like? Did he really give you money? Are you dating his son? I heard you're dating his son." "No, I'm not," Lila would say, blushing. "I just helped him. That's all." But they didn't believe her. They never believed her. Doris chased away the worst of them. "Leave her alone," she'd bark. "She's working. Get your coffee and go." But even Doris couldn't stop all of them. Couldn't stop the curiosity that was suffocating Lila more and more each day. Lila started to feel trapped, like she couldn't breathe. The simple life she loved was gone, replaced with stares and whispers and rumors. She missed the quiet, the peace, when she was just Lila, just the nice waitress at the diner. One afternoon, almost a week later, the door opened. Lila looked up from wiping tables, and there he was. Harold. He came in quietly, discreetly. No bodyguards this time, no Rolls-Royces, just him in a simple coat and hat. "Mr. Harold." Lila's face lit up. Despite everything, she was genuinely happy to see him. "Hello, Lila," Harold said warmly. "I was hoping, could I get some soup, just like that first night?" "Of course, of course." Lila rushed to the kitchen. She prepared the soup with extra care, just like before. She brought it to his table, the same table where he'd sat recovering. Harold smiled at her, that same kind, gentle smile. As she set down the bowl, Harold's eyes caught something. The crucifix, the small silver crucifix around her neck. He stared at it, really stared. "That crucifix," he said slowly. His voice was strange, tight. "Where did you get it?" "My mother gave it to me," Lila said, touching it instinctively, "before she died." "Why do you ask?" Harold's hands started shaking. "Your mother. What was her name?" Lila felt something shift. Something in the air changed. "Ruth," she said quietly. "Ruth Monroe." "Why?" "Mr. Harold, what's wrong?" Harold's face went pale, white as the snow outside. His eyes filled with tears, fat tears that spilled over immediately. "Ruth Monroe," he whispered. "Oh my God, oh my dear God." "Mr. Harold." Lila sat down across from him. She was frightened now. "What is it? How do you know my mother's name?" Harold couldn't speak. He was crying too hard. His whole body was shaking. Lila grabbed his hand. Please, please tell me. What's happening? Finally, Harold took a deep breath. He looked at Lila with eyes full of pain and wonder and disbelief. 30 years ago, he said, his voice breaking, I was in a terrible car accident on Route 7 just outside of town. My car went off the road. I was trapped, bleeding, dying. Lila's heart started pounding so hard. A woman stopped, Harold continued. A beautiful, kind woman. She pulled me out. She held me. She called for help. She saved my life. His tears fell faster. Her name was Ruth Monroe. Lila's world stopped, completely stopped. No, she whispered. No, that can't be. Yes. Harold grabbed both her hands. Yes, your mother saved me. 30 years ago, your mother saved my life. Lila's own tears started falling. My father, she choked out. My father died in an accident 30 years ago on Route 7. The sobs came harder. He was in the car with her when she stopped to help you. Another car came. It hit them. My father died. Right there. Harold's face crumpled. Oh no. Oh God, no. He was sobbing now. Both of them were sobbing. I didn't know. I never knew. Your mother never told me. She just kept saving me. Even after, she never blamed anyone, Lila cried. She never said it was anyone's fault. She said my father would have wanted her to help, that saving a life was always worth it. Harold stood up. He pulled Lila into his arms. They held each other and cried. Right there in the middle of the diner, two people connected by tragedy and sacrifice and the most beautiful kind of love. What she did for me, Harold whispered through his tears, I must do for you. Don't you see? That's why I found you. That's why destiny brought me back here, so I could repay what I owe, what I've owed for 30 years. Doris watched from the counter, tears streaming down her own face. She didn't understand everything, but she understood enough. She understood that something miraculous was happening, something impossible and perfect. Lila pulled back. She looked at Harold through her tears. You don't owe me anything. Yes, I do, Harold said fiercely. Your mother gave her husband's life for mine. She gave everything. And then she gave you kindness, taught you to be just like her, to save people without question, without hesitation. He held her face in his old, gentle hands. And now you saved me again. You, her daughter. Don't you see? The circle is complete. Destiny has brought us together so I can finally give back what I owe. Lila felt it then. The miracle. It wasn't loud. It wasn't obvious. It came disguised as memory, as connection, as the invisible threads of fate weaving together across 3 decades. My mother, she whispered. My mother would be so happy to know you're alive. That it wasn't for nothing. It was never for nothing, Harold said. Never. And now I get to honor her memory. Through you. The diner was quiet except for their tears. But they were good tears now. Healing tears. Tears that washed away 30 years of unknown guilt and pain. And in that moment, Lila understood. The storm that brought Harold to her door wasn't an accident. It was never an accident. It was destiny completing its circle, bringing everything back around. Her mother's sacrifice, Harold's survival, her own kindness, all of it connected, all of it meant to be. The miracle was here. It had always been here, just waiting for the right moment to reveal itself. While Lila and Harold were discovering their miraculous connection, Cole Whitmore was in his office. His expensive office with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Maple Ridge. He sat at his enormous desk. Papers spread everywhere. Maps, documents, plans. He was planning something big, something that would change everything. Cole wanted to buy the land where the Crossroad Diner stood. All of it, the diner, the parking lot, the little strip of properties around it. He wanted it all. A luxury resort, he said to himself, smiling. Right here in Maple Ridge. We'll modernize this whole dying town, bring in tourists, money, progress. He could see it already. Glass buildings, spa facilities, 5-star restaurants, everything shiny and new and expensive, everything under his control. The door to his office opened. A woman walked in, tall, beautiful, dripping with jewelry and designer clothes. Veronica Hale, Cole's ex-fiancée. They had broken up 6 months ago, but she still came around, still acted like they might get back together. Darling, Veronica purred, walking to his desk. Are you still obsessing over that little project? It's not little, Cole said, not looking up from his papers. It's going to be the biggest development this town has ever seen. Veronica picked up one of the documents. She laughed, a cold, sharp laugh, like breaking glass. The Crossroad Diner? She read mockingly. You're tearing down that dump? Finally! About time someone did. It's prime real estate, Cole said. Right on the main road. Perfect location. And that waitress? Veronica's voice dripped with disdain. That sentimental little nobody? What about her? Cole's hands paused. Just for a second. He thought about Lila, about her honest eyes, her genuine kindness, the way she'd looked at him with such disappointment. She'll be compensated, he said stiffly. Everyone has a price. Of course they do, Veronica laughed again. An old restaurant and a sentimental waitress. Pathetic. Both of them. This town needs people like us, Cole. People with vision, with sophistication. Cole nodded. He agreed. He did. But, something inside him felt wrong. That crack that had started in the diner. It was still there, still spreading. He tried to ignore it. He was good at ignoring uncomfortable feelings. He'd been doing it his whole life. When do we break ground? Veronica asked, examining her perfect nails. Soon, Cole said. Very soon. I just need to finalize the purchase and… His phone rang. His secretary. Mr. Whitmore, your father is here to see you. He says it's urgent. Cole frowned. Send him in. Harold walked into the office. His face was serious. So serious. He looked at Cole, then at Veronica. His expression darkened. Veronica, he said coldly. I thought you and my son were no longer together. Just visiting, Mr. Whitmore, Veronica said sweetly. Fake sweetly. Cole and I are still very close. Harold turned to his son. We need to talk, alone. Veronica's smile tightened. I'll wait outside, darling. And she walked out, but her heels clicked angrily on the marble floor. As soon as she left, Harold closed the door. He turned to Cole with fire in his eyes. You're planning to buy the Crossroad Diner? Harold's voice was dangerously quiet. Cole straightened. It's business, Dad. Good business. That location is… I know what you're planning, Harold interrupted. And I'm telling you right now. No, absolutely not. Dad, be reasonable. That diner is barely surviving. I'll give them a fair price. More than fair. You want to build bricks, Harold said slowly, each word heavy with meaning. I want to build consciousness. Cole stared at his father. What does that even mean? It means, Harold said, his voice rising, that not everything needs to be torn down and rebuilt. Some things have value exactly as they are. That diner, it's more than a building, Cole. It's a place where people matter, where kindness matters. It's outdated, inefficient. It's home, Harold shouted. To Lila, to Doris, to everyone who needs a warm meal and a kind word. And you want to destroy it for what? A resort? More money that you don't need? Cole felt his own anger rising. I'm trying to help this town, to bring progress, to feed your ego, Harold shot back. That's what this is about. Control, power, proving you can change anything you want. Before Cole could respond, the door burst open. Veronica stormed back in. Are we really going to let some poor waitress stop progress? She demanded. Really? Because she smiled at your father during a storm? Harold turned to her, his eyes blazing. That poor waitress saved my life. And more than that, she's the daughter of the woman who saved my life 30 years ago, the woman who lost her husband saving me. Veronica laughed. That awful, cruel laugh. Oh, this is perfect. She's playing the sympathy card. My poor dead mother. What a clever little gold digger. What did you say? Harold's voice was ice. It's obvious. Veronica continued, enjoying herself now. She saw her chance, an old lonely billionaire. She probably planned the whole thing. Poor me, I saved you. It's a great con, I almost admire it. Get out, Harold said quietly. Excuse me? Get out of my son's office, Harold roared. Now! Veronica stepped back, shocked. Nobody ever yelled at her. Nobody. Cole stood there, torn. Part of him wanted to defend Veronica, to agree with her, because it was easier than admitting that maybe, just maybe, he was wrong. But another part of him, that cracked part, it was screaming at him, telling him that Veronica was horrible, that Lila was real, that everything he thought he knew was false. She manipulated you, Veronica insisted, looking at Harold. Can't you see that? A poor girl manipulating a rich old man. It's the oldest trick in the sound of footsteps, running footsteps. Doris appeared in the doorway. She had followed Harold here, and she had heard everything, everything. Her face was red with fury. She was holding her purse, and in her other hand, a thermos of coffee, hot coffee. "You listen here, princess," Doris shouted. "Lila Monroe is the kindest, most genuine person in this whole godforsaken town. She doesn't have a manipulative bone in her body." "Oh, please." Veronica rolled her eyes. "You're just her loyal little—" Doris stepped forward. She actually raised the thermos, like she was going to throw hot coffee right at Veronica. "Say one more word about that girl," Doris threatened. "One more word. I dare you." "Doris." Harold grabbed her arm gently. "Not here. She's not worth it." The confrontation had reached a boiling point. Pride, jealousy, fear, greed, all of it exposed, raw and ugly in the expensive office. And then a quiet voice from the doorway. "Please, please stop." Lila, she had come looking for Doris. And now she stood there, tears streaming down her face, looking at all of them with such pain. "I just wanted to help," Lila cried. "That's all? Just help. I didn't want money. I didn't want anything. I just wanted him to be safe." The room went silent, completely silent. Veronica looked at Lila with contempt. Cole looked at her with confusion. Doris looked at her with protective love. And Harold looked at her with pride and sorrow. "I don't want to cause trouble," Lila continued, her voice breaking. "If me being here causes problems, I'll leave. I'll go away. I don't want to hurt anyone." "No," Harold said firmly. "No, you're not going anywhere. They need to learn, all of them, that not everything is about money and power and control." But the damage was done. The confrontation had happened, and now everyone would know about it. The whole town would hear. Destiny was preparing something big. A public judgment was coming, and everyone would have to choose a side. 2 days later, the invitations arrived. Elegant invitations, on thick, expensive paper, hand-delivered by men in suits. Harold Whitmore was hosting a dinner at his estate, Lakeside Manor, and everyone important in Maple Ridge was invited. But the most important invitation, the one hand-delivered by Harold himself, that one went to Lila. "Please come," Harold had said, pressing the envelope into her hands. "Please, I need you there. This is important." "Mr. Harold, I don't belong at a place like that," Lila had protested. "I don't have fancy dresses. I don't know which fork to use. I'll embarrass you." "Impossible," Harold had said, smiling. "You could never embarrass me. You're the guest of honor." Now, the night of the dinner, Lila stood in front of her tiny mirror. She wore the only nice dress she owned. Simple, blue, clean, but so plain, so ordinary compared to what everyone else would be wearing. Her hands shook as she tried to fix her hair. "I can't do this," she whispered to herself. "I can't." But she had promised Harold, and Lila Monroe never broke her promises. Doris drove her to Lakeside Manor. They turned off the main road onto a long, winding driveway. Trees on both sides, expensive trees, perfectly trimmed. And then they saw it, the manor. "Holy Mother of God," Doris whispered. It was huge, enormous, like something from a movie, 3 stories tall, made of stone, with lights everywhere, making it glow like a palace. "I can't go in there," Lila said, panicking. "Doris, I can't." "Yes, you can," Doris said firmly. "You hold your head high. You're worth 10 of any fancy person in there. You hear me?" Lila nodded. But she was terrified, absolutely terrified. A valet opened her door. She stepped out. Her simple blue dress looked so plain, so poor. She wanted to disappear. But then Harold was there, coming down the steps to greet her. "Lila, you came. Oh, thank God you came." He took her arm, like she was royalty, like she was the most important person there. "You look beautiful," he said warmly. "Absolutely beautiful." Lila wanted to cry, but she held it together. Barely. They walked inside together, into a huge dining room, crystal chandeliers, a table that could seat 30 people, flowers everywhere, expensive flowers, and people, so many people, all dressed in designer clothes, all staring at her, especially one person, Veronica Hale. She stood near the fireplace, wearing a dress that probably cost more than Lila's entire yearly salary, diamonds at her throat, Her hair perfect, her makeup perfect, everything perfect. And her smile, cruel, so cruel. Well, well, Veronica said loudly. The guest of honor, how quaint. Other guests laughed, quietly, behind their hands. But Lila heard them. Cole was there too, standing in the corner, watching everything. He looked at Lila, really looked at her, and something in his chest tightened. She was beautiful, not like Veronica's polished artificial beauty, but real beauty, natural, with her honest eyes and genuine smile. Why hadn't he seen it before? Harold raised his hand. Everyone, please. Take your seats. Dinner is about to be served. People moved to the table. Lila found herself at Harold's right hand, the place of honor. Veronica's eyes narrowed with jealousy. Cole sat across from Lila. He couldn't stop looking at her. She was so nervous. Her hands trembled slightly as she reached for her water glass. Dinner was served. Course after course, food Lila had never even heard of. She tried to copy what others were doing. Which fork? Which spoon? But it was so confusing. Veronica watched her struggle and smiled. That mean smile. Finally, dessert came. Harold stood up. He held his wine glass high. I want to make a toast, he announced. His voice filled the room. Everyone quieted. All eyes on him. This young woman, Harold said, gesturing to Lila, gave me back the meaning of life. Absolute silence. You could hear a pin drop. Veronica rolled her eyes. Dramatically, making sure everyone saw. Harold continued. I was lost, in my wealth, in my success. I had forgotten what really matters. But she reminded me, with her simple, pure kindness. Lila's face was red. She wanted to sink through the floor. And then, Harold said, his voice breaking with emotion, I discovered something miraculous. She is the daughter of the woman who saved my life 30 years ago, the woman who sacrificed everything, who lost her husband saving me. Cole went pale. Actually pale. His father's words hit him like a punch. He had never seen his father like this. Never. So moved, so genuine, so human. Destiny, Harold continued, tears in his eyes now, brought me to her door that night, to repay an old debt, to honor a woman who showed me that life, real life, is about more than money, more than success. It's about love, sacrifice, kindness. Lila stood up, shaking. Mister. Harold, please, I don't need anything. Really, you don't have to. Sit down, dear, Harold said gently. Please. Lila sat, tears streaming down her face. Harold looked around the room, at all the wealthy, powerful people. What I'm about to do isn't charity, he said firmly. It's justice. It's paying back what I owe, what I've owed for 30 years. He turned to Lila. Your mother gave me life, and you gave me hope. And now I'm going to make sure you have everything you deserve. Veronica stood up. This is insane. You're going to give your money to some waitress? Some girl you barely know? I know her better than I know most people in this room. Harold shot back. Including you, Veronica. At least she's honest. Real. Not fake like, Dad, Cole said suddenly, his voice quiet, but everyone heard. He stood up, slowly, looking at his father. Then at Lila. Dad, I understand now, Cole said. His voice was shaking. I understand what you're trying to tell me. Harold looked at his son, hope in his eyes. Do you? Do you really? Yes, Cole whispered. He looked at Lila again, really looked, and that crack inside him. It broke open completely. Money had never bought him this feeling, this realization that he'd been wrong, about everything. I'm sorry, Cole said, to Lila, to his father, to everyone. I'm sorry I didn't see it before. And in that moment, in that beautiful, expensive dining room, Cole Whitmore finally understood what his money could never, ever buy. Truth, connection, real, genuine, beautiful love. Veronica exploded. She couldn't take it anymore. Her face turned red. Her voice rose to a shriek. This is insanity, she screamed. Complete insanity. You're going to give your fortune to a stranger, a nobody, a waitress? Every head in the room turned. Guests gasped. Some looked away, embarrassed. Others leaned forward, eager for the drama. Harold turned to face Veronica. His face was calm, so calm, like a lake that never ripples. I'd rather give it to someone with a soul, he said quietly. Each word was clear, final. Than to someone with only greed. Veronica's mouth fell open. She looked around for support. Cole, tell him. Tell your father he's being ridiculous. But Cole wasn't looking at her. He was looking at his father, really looking. And what about me? Cole asked. His voice was strange, tight. What's left for me, Dad? After you give everything away to her? Harold looked at his son. With such love, such infinite love, the chance to learn what real love is, Harold said softly. That's what's left for you, son. The greatest gift I could ever give you. Cole felt it then. The shame. The deep, burning shame that his pride had been hiding for years. Maybe his whole life. He had everything. Money, power, success. But he had nothing. Nothing real. Nothing that mattered. He looked at Lila. She was crying. Silent tears running down her face. Not because she wanted anything, but because she was watching a family break apart. And it hurt her. Of course it hurt her. Because that's who she was. I'm sorry, Cole whispered. To his father, to Lila, to himself. I'm so sorry. Lila stood up suddenly. She couldn't take it anymore. All these people, all this fighting. This wasn't what she wanted. Never what she wanted. I need to leave, she said, her voice breaking. I'm sorry, Mr. Harold. I never meant to cause problems. I just wanted to help. That's all. I swear. She turned toward the door. But then, Harold gasped. A terrible sound. His hand flew to his chest. His face went white. Dad? Cole jumped up. Dad! Harold collapsed. Right there. He fell back into his chair, clutching his chest. His breathing was short. Quick. Painful. Someone call 911. Someone screamed. Dad! Dad! No! Cole ran to his father. He grabbed Harold's shoulders. Stay with me. Please, please stay with me. Harold's eyes were closing. His face was gray. The emotion, the stress. His old heart couldn't take. It couldn't. No, no, no. Cole was crying now. Actually crying. Tears streaming down his face. Don't leave me. Please, Dad. I need you. I finally understand. I finally get it. Please don't leave now. Lila dropped to her knees, right there on the expensive carpet. She clasped her hands together. Her lips moved in silent prayer. Tears falling and falling, landing on the carpet that cost more than everything she owned. Please, God, she whispered. Please, save him, please. Harold's hand reached out, weak, shaking. It found Cole's hand, held it. Son, Harold whispered. His voice was so faint, so weak. Don't lose what she showed you. Don't lose it. I won't, Cole sobbed. I won't, Dad. I promise. Just stay. Please stay. Love her, Harold breathed. She deserves real love. Dad! Cole's voice broke completely. The paramedics burst in. They rushed to Harold, pushing people aside, working fast, so fast. Everyone watched, frozen, terrified. Veronica stood in the corner, alone. Suddenly she felt so small, so irrelevant. Nobody was looking at her anymore. Nobody cared about her beauty, her jewels, her perfect hair. She saw Cole holding his father's hand, crying like a child. She saw Lila praying with such faith, such pure, genuine faith, and Veronica felt nothing, nothing at all, just emptiness where her heart should be. She turned and walked out, through the grand doors, into the cold night, defeated by something she would never understand, could never understand, because she had no soul to understand it with. Inside, the paramedics worked. Oxygen, monitors, medicine, everything moving fast. And then Harold's eyes opened, just a little. He took a breath, a real breath. He's stabilizing, one paramedic said. Thank God, another one replied. Harold looked at Cole, at Lila, and he smiled. Actually smiled. Still here? He whispered. Still time. Cole laughed through his tears. Yes, yes, Dad. There's time, so much time. They loaded Harold onto a stretcher. Carefully, gently, Cole held his hand the whole way to the ambulance. Lila followed, still crying, still praying. As they drove away, sirens wailing, the guests stood in the grand dining room, silent, stunned. They had come for fancy food and gossip, but they had witnessed something else, something real, something that would change many of them forever. The miracle hadn't been a healing. Not exactly. The miracle was forgiveness, understanding. Love breaking through years of pride and coldness, and everyone who saw it knew. They knew they had witnessed something sacred, something beautiful, something that money could never, ever buy. 1 week later, Harold Whitmore stood at a podium. He was thinner now, weaker, but alive. So alive. Next to him stood Cole, and Lila, and the mayor of Maple Ridge. The town square was packed. Everyone had come, the whole town. They filled the streets, waiting, watching. "Ladies and gentlemen," Harold began. His voice was strong, stronger than anyone expected. "Today I'm announcing the creation of the Ruth Monroe Foundation." A gasp went through the crowd. "In honor of the woman who saved my life 30 years ago," Harold continued. "I'm donating $5 million to help families in crisis, to support those who give without asking for anything in return, to honor real kindness, real sacrifice." People started clapping. Some were crying. The sound built and built. Lila covered her mouth with her hands. $5 million in her mother's name. Her mother who had never wanted anything, who had just wanted to help. Then Cole stepped forward. He looked different, softer, more human. "I also have an announcement," he said. His voice was nervous, but sincere. "The Crossroad Diner will not be demolished." More gasps, more tears. "Instead," Cole continued, "I'm personally funding a complete restoration. We're going to make it beautiful, but keep everything that makes it special, everything that makes it home." He looked at Lila, really looked at her, with something in his eyes, something new, something warm. "In memory of the people who save others without asking who they are," he said. "Without caring if they're rich or poor, without wanting anything in return." The crowd erupted, cheering, clapping, crying. Doris stood in the front row, tears streaming down her face. She tried to hide them with her apron, but everyone saw, everyone knew. "I've never seen anything so beautiful," she whispered. "Never in my whole life." Lila tried to speak, to thank them, but the words wouldn't come. Her throat was too tight, her heart too full. She just nodded, crying and smiling at the same time. 2 months later, the Crossroad Diner reopened. It was beautiful. The old booths were restored. The counter was refinished. New windows let in so much light. But the soul of the place, that stayed the same. The whole town came for the grand reopening, lines out the door. Everyone wanted to see, to celebrate. And there was Cole, wearing jeans and a simple shirt, actually serving coffee, clearing tables, working alongside Lila and Doris. "Well, I'll be," Doris Eker said, watching him wipe down a table. "First time I've ever seen a billionaire cleaning tables." Cole laughed, a real laugh, genuine and free. "First time I've had a reason to do it," he said. He looked at Lila. She was serving soup to an elderly couple, smiling, listening to their stories, just like always. And Cole felt his heart expand, actually expand, like it was growing, getting bigger, making room for something it had never held before. Love, real love, not the shallow, selfish love he'd known with Veronica, but the deep, scary, beautiful love that Lila had shown him was possible. The diner became more than just a restaurant. It became a shelter again, a refuge, not just for bodies anymore, but for souls. People came when they were all lonely, when they were hurting, when they needed kindness, and they always found it. Always. The blizzard had passed, long ago, but the warmth remained. Inside the Crossroad Diner, inside the hearts of everyone who entered. Harold stood at the window, looking out at the busy diner, at his son serving coffee with a genuine smile, at Lila lighting up the room with her presence. "Thank you, Ruth," he whispered. "Thank you for saving me." Twice. He touched the window. His reflection stared back at him, old, tired, but happy, so deeply, completely happy, because he had found it, the thing he'd been searching for, the thing money could never buy. Purpose, real purpose, not in building empires, but in honoring kindness, in paying forward the love that had saved him. Doris came to stand beside him. She handed him a cup of coffee. "She did good, didn't she?" Doris said quietly. "Ruth, she raised that girl right." "Yes," Harold said, smiling. "Yes, she did." They stood together, watching the diner fill with life, with laughter, with hope. The snow would come again. Winter always returned. But now they knew, they all knew, that no storm could ever extinguish the warmth of human kindness. That warmth would last forever, passed from heart to heart, from generation to generation, and it had all started with one simple act. One woman opening a door, saying, "Come in, you're safe here." That was the real miracle. Not the money, not the grand gestures, but the choice to care, to love, to save. That was the inheritance that really mattered. The moral inheritance, the one that could never be spent, never diminished, never lost. And as the sun set over Maple Ridge, the lights of the Crossroad Diner glowed warm and bright. A beacon, a promise, a reminder. That goodness still existed, that love still won, that kindness still mattered. Always, always, always. The weeks passed slowly, gently, like snow melting in spring. Cole came to the diner every day, every single day. At first, he just watched the renovations, making sure everything was perfect. But then, something changed. He started staying longer, helping more, painting walls, moving furniture, getting his hands dirty, actually dirty. And Lila, she was always there, always smiling, always patient, teaching him how things worked in a real diner, not in a boardroom, but in a place where people mattered more than profits. One afternoon, Lila was making apple pie, her mother's recipe, the one Ruth had taught her when she was just a little girl. Cole watched from the doorway, fascinated. "Can I help?" he asked shyly. Lila looked up, surprised. "You want to learn to make pie?" "I want to learn everything," Cole said quietly. And he meant it. He really meant it. So Lila taught him, patiently, how to roll the dough, how to slice the apples just right, how to add cinnamon and sugar and love. Always love. They worked side by side, their hands touching sometimes, accidentally, but maybe not so accidentally. Cole laughed when he got flour on his expensive shirt. Actually laughed. The old Cole would have been furious. But this Cole, this new Cole, he just laughed. "I'm terrible at this," he admitted, looking at his messy dough. "You're learning," Lila said warmly. "That's what matters. Everyone starts somewhere." They talked while they worked, really talked, about everything, about their lives, their losses, their fears. "I lost my way," Cole confessed. "Somewhere along the road I forgot what matters. I became someone I don't even like. But you're finding your way back," Lila said gently. "That's what's important. Not where you were, but where you're going." Cole looked at her, really looked. "You taught me to listen to silence," he said softly, "to hear what people don't say, to feel what they feel. I never could do that before." Lila blushed. "And you taught me that even pride can change, that even the hardest heart can soften, that nobody is beyond redemption." From the counter, Doris watched them. She had been watching for weeks, seeing what they couldn't see yet. She winked at a regular customer. "I'm seeing romance there," she said loudly, loud enough for them to hear. "Doris!" Lila's face turned red, bright red. Cole laughed, but he didn't deny it. He couldn't deny it. Later that evening, after the diner closed, Cole asked Lila to sit with him. Just sit, in one of the old booths. "I need to say something," he began. His voice was serious. "I need to apologize, really apologize, for everything I said that first day, for trying to buy your kindness, for treating you like you were just, It's okay," Lila started to say. "No," Cole interrupted. "It's not okay. I was arrogant, cruel. I judged you without knowing you. I assumed the worst, and I'm so sorry." His eyes were wet, actually wet with tears. "I've said sorry before, to business partners, to clients, but I never meant it, not really. But now I mean it, with everything I have." Lila reached across the table. She took his hand. Her touch was gentle, warm, forgiving. "I forgive you," she said simply. "Of course I forgive you." And that was it. No drama, no conditions, just forgiveness, pure and simple and strong, because that's who she was. That's who her mother had taught her to be. Cole felt something break open inside him, the last wall, the last defense. It crumbled, and behind it was his heart, raw and scared and ready to love. "Thank you," he whispered. "Thank you for seeing who I could be, not just who I was." Winter came again to Maple Ridge. The first winter since that fateful storm. But this winter was different. So different. The Crossroad Diner became a community shelter. On the coldest nights, Lila and Cole opened the doors. Free soup, free coffee, warm blankets. A safe place for anyone who needed it. Homeless people came. Struggling families. Lonely elderly folks. And they were all welcomed. All treated with dignity. With love. "Kindness is the only business that never loses money," Lila said one night, serving soup to a shivering man. Cole heard her. He was carrying blankets. He stopped. He looked at her. And suddenly, he knew. He knew with absolute certainty. He loved her. Completely, totally, forever. He walked to her, right there in the middle of the busy diner, in front of everyone, and he pulled her into his arms. He hugged her, like she was home, like she was everything. "I love you," he whispered into her hair. "I love you so much." Lila's heart soared. Actually soared. "I love you too," she whispered back. Doris whooped, actually whooped out loud. "Finally, about time you two figured it out." Everyone laughed, clapped, cheered. Outside, snow began to fall, soft, gentle, beautiful. But this time the snow wasn't dangerous, wasn't deadly. This time it was just beauty, pure, simple beauty, covering everything in white. And inside the Crossroad Diner, wrapped in each other's arms, Cole and Lila watched it fall. "Beautiful," Cole murmured. "Yes," Lila agreed. "So beautiful." They stood there, together, while all around them, people ate and laughed and found warmth. The blizzard that had brought them together was just a memory now. But the love born from that ice, that would last forever. 1 year later, the sign above the Crossroad Diner had changed. New letters, shiny and bright. Crossroad Diner, founded in gratitude. Underneath, in smaller letters, "In memory of Ruth Monroe, who taught us that saving someone is the greatest gift." Diner was packed, always packed. Tourists came from everywhere. They had heard the story, the incredible story of the waitress and the billionaire, of kindness rewarded, of love found in the most unexpected place. Behind the counter, Cole and Lila worked side by side. Married now, 6 months married, with simple gold bands on their fingers. "2 coffees for table 7, Lila called out, laughing. "On it," Cole replied, grabbing the pot. He still couldn't believe this was his life, working in a diner, serving coffee, getting food orders wrong sometimes, and loving every single minute of it. "You forgot the cream," Lila teased, kissing his cheek. "I'm still learning." Cole laughed. At the register, Doris rang up orders. She was the matriarch now, the queen of the crossroad. Everyone knew her. Everyone loved her. "That'll be $12.50, honey," she told a tourist. And yes, that's really him, the billionaire himself, serving your coffee. People always stared, always whispered. But Cole didn't mind anymore. Let them stare, let them whisper. He had nothing to hide, nothing to be ashamed of. In the corner, in a place of honor, hung a photograph, beautifully framed, 2 pictures side by side, Harold Whitmore on the left, Ruth Monroe on the right, both smiling, both radiant. Between them, a small plaque, "The ones who showed us the way." Lila walked over during a quiet moment. She touched the frame gently, lovingly. "He found his way back, Mama," she whispered. "Harold found his way, and he helped Cole find his way too. You'd be so proud." She felt tears coming. Good tears. Happy tears. "Thank you," she whispered to the picture. To her mother. To Harold, who had passed peacefully in his sleep 3 months ago. "Thank you for everything." Maple Ridge had changed. The whole town had changed. It was thriving now. Not because of money, not because of development, but because of hope. Because of the example the Crossroad Diner had set. People were kinder now, more generous. The Ruth Monroe Foundation helped dozens of families every month, and other businesses followed the diner's example, opening their doors, helping their neighbors. The Crossroad Diner had become more than a restaurant. It was a symbol, a reminder that faith and kindness and love could change everything. And Veronica, poor Veronica, she had married a banker, a rich banker, got everything she thought she wanted, the mansion, the jewels, the status, but she was miserable, always complaining about the cold, about the people, about how boring everything was, because she had never learned the lesson. She had never understood. Money couldn't buy happiness. Status couldn't buy peace. Beauty couldn't buy love. Meanwhile, in the warm, crowded diner, Cole stood at the window, watching snow begin to fall. "You know," he said to Lila, pulling her close, "it's funny. Miracles always start with a storm." Lila leaned into him, smiled that beautiful smile. "Or with an open door," she said. They stood together, watching the snow, listening to the happy chaos behind them, the clinking of cups, the laughter of customers, the warmth of community. The lights of the diner glowed, bright and warm, illuminating happy faces, grateful hearts, second chances. Outside, the wind still blew, cold and strong, reminding everyone that winter was real, that storms would come, but also reminding them of something else, something more important, that goodness never gets lost, never disappears. It just waits for an open door, a willing heart, a chance to shine. Cole kissed the top of Lila's head. "I love you," he murmured. "I love you." "Too," she replied. "Forever." Behind them, Doris smiled. Harold's picture seemed to smile too. And somewhere, somehow, Ruth was smiling, proud of her daughter, proud of what her simple act of kindness had created. The miracle hadn't been the money, the $5 million in the foundation. The miracle hadn't been the restored diner, the tourists, the success. The miracle had been the compassion, the simple, pure compassion that had changed destinies, changed hearts, changed lives. One act of kindness, 30 years ago, leading to another, and another, creating a chain that would never break, never end. That was the real miracle, the invisible miracle, the one that couldn't be photographed or measured or counted. The miracle of love passing from heart to heart, from generation to generation, forever and always. And as the snow fell softly over Maple Ridge, the Crossroad Diner stood bright and warm and welcoming, a beacon in the darkness, a promise kept, a testament to everything good and pure and true. The door was always open, the coffee was always hot, and the love never ran out, never the end.